Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I am here, happy to see you all today, to present about the message and the design for our websites. This is a very high level we're backing way up and talking about how to best design and write for content for our library websites, but also for all of the other promotion that we do in a library. So I'm going to be hitting on a lot of topics today, a lot of tips and tricks, and I really hope that you find some of this useful today. So we're going to start with writing, and how we can make writing more effective for what we're trying to communicate. Again, both for our websites, but also for all of the other content that we do for our library. And what we're going to be focusing on is specifically really what are we trying to communicate? How do we hone that message down in this world, specifically in this world where everybody wants to just skim. We've got you're on social media and you're scrolling by things. People aren't stopping and reading in depth. So you really need to get your message short, quick, to the point, and right there in front of them in all the different formats that we're working in. We'll look briefly at making a press release and press release formats. And then we're also going to look at some of our AI tools, using AI to get started and also using AI to reformat our work for different purposes. And if any of you were on the passport training for IFLIS, we went over some things. So this is going to look a little repetitive for you, but we'll use some different content for using AI. We're going to talk quickly, and this actually could be an entire lecture in and of itself, but we're going to talk about message mapping and how we can use message mapping to get to the core of our message very quickly. Message mapping is the art of taking a headline and then breaking it down into no more than 3 key points, and then for each of those key points, having 3 supporting points. So anything that you are working with, anything that you are trying to get a message out about, whether it be a special event at the library, whether it be summer reading, whether it be a closure due to construction, or hey, maybe your book return is closed and broken, and you need to have people know that they can't return books. Anything. This is a really nice tool for getting down to those bullet points. And the main thing is in those bullet points, to keep your points to 9 to 15 words each. So you use a word counter. Keep it really short, keep it really to the point. And then for each of those additional points, 10 to 20 words is your absolute maximum for any of those. And if you do the math on that, I mean, you're talking like 15 words times 3, that's already 45 words. And then if you had 20 words times 3 times 3 times 3, we're getting up into the hundreds of words, and that's basically a full-length press release right there. So we'll talk a little bit about how we can use those word counters to help us as well. Here's an example of a message map for a very old press release, and I'll also use this press release as an example in a minute. But back years ago now, oh my gosh, we're going on how many years? 2014, I believe, 2015, 2014. We celebrated 50 years of Story Hour, which means now this library is going to be celebrating 60 years of Story Hour, and that's another big anniversary coming up. So we have a headline: Story Hour is celebrating 50 years. And then we have broken out underneath this, we are going to have 3 key points. The Demer Library is celebrating 50 years of Story Hour, which is their flagship early childhood education program. And then underneath, there's just 2 points: the date, and the who, what, where, when, why, and how. We get to the when was Tuesday, November 25th in 2014 from 10 a.m. to noon. And the who is invited, all community members. So that is going to be, and when we get to the press release, that is going to be paragraph 1. That is all the information that somebody who does nothing more than read the first headline and the first paragraph, that's all they need to know, is what it is, where it is, and how they can be involved. The second paragraph, or the second main point in this case, is Story Hour was started in 1964 and then we've got why they sell, or what it was for. And then we've got a couple of awards, or a recognition that it was received an award in 1991, and that it continues today as Story Hour at Dummer Library and Sugar Camp Elementary School. So again, some supporting information. This would be our paragraph 2 and possibly paragraph 3 of our press release. And then our final support piece is something that if nobody reads anything more, it's nice to know this information, but it may actually come out as secondary follow-up information, because all community members are invited, which is a repetition of the first. However, it talks about what they're going to do at this. We would like past participants to share their memories, and that there is some support from the school district and the town of Sugar Camp involved in this. So we're thanking our sponsors at the very end of this. So again, the very first point is our most important. If nobody reads anything else, they want to get this information. The body of the information and the bulk of the why is going to happen in the middle section. And then our final point is is a little bit of our how, and how people can be involved, again, in that call to action, and kind of a secondary call to action because it's more of a long-term piece, and then thinking of our sponsors at the very end. So now that we've mapped out our message, this is a great tool now for what you're going to be putting on your website, what you're going to be sending as a press release. And for our Facebook post or our social media, we'll really be focusing on this very first part in our all of our calls to like participate, and then the whys would be that supporting information. So now we're going to write that press release. And we're back to that. Paragraph 1 comes from that first point of the call to action. And we want to think of our most important information. In fact, this may be our entire Facebook post to some degree. You want about 30 to 50 words focusing on who, what, where, and when, so that people know where to show up and what's happening, and where and when to show up. And as the first key point, keep this very, very relevant. Usually in a press release, it's much more dry than a social media post. We're not going to have quite that attention grabbing piece because it is going to a newspaper, but you also want all of that information in that first paragraph. Our next paragraphs are going to be the how, and this is going to be a little bit bulkier, a little bit more information, about 100 to 250 words. If you're using a word counter, keep it succinct, keep it close. The final paragraph will be your final info. It might be a secondary call to action, again, that show up and tell us about your history with Story Hour because of the many generations that have participated, thanking and recognizing your sponsors, and then any kind of wrap up information about maybe other things that are coming, like if it's a summer reading announcement, watch for. More information will be available at. So how people can find, like watch our Facebook page, watch our website, download your application or your passport or whatever it is from this place. And this one should be shorter, about 30 to 50 words. Again, sandwiching that middle paragraph, and then the last paragraph and the final sentence should have your contact information, phone, email, website. And so let's take a look at what this press release looks like. So I'm not here to brag, but I did a lot of press releases as part of UW Extension and a lot of press releases as part of the library. And I can tell you our newspaper said, we love your press releases because we will publish them unedited. We can just throw them in. They might check for grammar and everything, but the structure was what they needed. We had the date, to all local media, our contact information, who was submitting the press release, and then you have your headline. Then our first paragraph, again, if they don't read anything else, this is all they need to know, is that on Tuesday, November 25th, 2014, from 10 a.m. to noon, Denver Library in Three Lakes will hold an open house to recognize the founders and the legacy of 50 years of Story Hour, their flagship early childhood education program. All members of the community are invited. If I were writing this for social media, we'll get to how we can do this, but I would probably jazz that up and make it a little fancier and a little more attention grabbing. But for a press release, that's all anybody needs to read. These next paragraphs give the history of Story Hour, what it was for, and some of the honors and recognitions that it received. Then the current status of Story Hour, and is kind of a mini call to action that you can participate in Story Hour now if your child is not yet enrolled. But also it has the support of the funds of the school district, Town of Sugar Camp, and Friends of the Library. So again, recognition of the sponsors. And then the final call to action in this very last paragraph. If you have participated in Story Hour, stop in and help identify the kids in all these old photos in the old photo albums. And then the very last piece is who to contact for more information. So again, double-spaced, clear, a little bit boring, but this came from the message map, and the message map gives us our text. And then now we have some really good content for taking to all of our other places that we need to write about. So if we've got, and I will, oh yes, all of this information, Rita just asked if there's going to be a link to all of this. Absolutely, I will put this up on the training page. I'm not quite done drafting it yet, but the training website will have this up by the end of the day today. So this will be available, and including links to what we're going to do next. Because like I said, we've got our press release, we have our message map, and I will also have a message map tool for you available. But now, you know what? We all have too much work to do. So we are going to come over here to use some resources and tools. Actually, I'm going to switch back here real quick. Where am I? We're going to use some AI now to help us with some writing, because all of us have too many things to do and not enough time to do it in. So I think there's some really good tools available for helping us get started on some things. And again, these links will all be available on the training website, and I will put actually we'll do training.librarieswin.org, and I can't remember what the slug is at the moment, but it'll be the first blog post very shortly. And I will include that in the notes on the YouTube recording of this as well. So we have some resources available to us. There are others out there, but these are the big three at this point. And we've got OpenAI's ChatGPT, which is pretty famous right now. We have Google Gemini, and we have Microsoft Copilot. Yes, Meta has their own. I'm not sure if it's a super good one for writing at this point, but it might help you write a Facebook post on that. But I'm going to use ChatGPT. I do have an account with Copilot, so we can test some of that too. Work won't let me sign up for Google Gemini at this moment, which is a little ironic, but it is what it is. So I'm going to use ChatGPT, which I have an account for, and I just signed up with my work account. The standard disclaimers for using any kind of AI is never feed it personal information. Treat it like a nosy neighbor that wants to share all of your information with somebody else. You know, that person that comes into the library and wants to know all about the latest and greatest, and they're going to turn around and tell everybody else in town. ChatGPT wants to take information, digest it, and feed it out back again. So I love it for a co-writer. I love it for fact checking. I love it for assisting me in getting started on things, but I don't trust it. So I use it as the tool it is. So I have a work account here. Today, I'm going to say I've got this lovely press release. I feel pretty confident in it, but you know what? Maybe I want a little feedback on it and just see if there's some ways I could improve it. So let's take this and say, copy this text Oh, and actually, I've already done a word count on this one, but I could also do a word counter. So let's just see where I'm at. I've got wordcounter.net, and this tells me I'm at 332 words for my entire press release. And just out of total curiosity, I've got about 46 words in that first paragraph. So I'm feeling pretty good with that. Sounds about right. But I'm going to say, please critique, I can't type, critique this press release. And we'll just see what ChatGPT has to say about this. And it says, overall press release effectively communicates the milestone of Demer Library's 50 years in Story Hour. Here's some suggestions. The opening could be more engaging. Yep, you're right. It is pretty dry. It could be there could be a little more historical context, but we want to keep it short. It does have the recognition of the founders. So it wants me basically to write more. And at this point, I want to keep it short. So I'm like, nah, I think it's pretty good the way it is. Okay. So, but I've got a press release. I need to get some work done. So please rewrite this press release in, and I said the whole thing was 300 words. I'm going to say we'll give it a challenge, 75 words or less, so that I have something for my website. There we go. Join us at the Demer Library on November 25th, 2014, history, 10 a.m. to noon, as we celebrate 50 years of Story Hour, founded in 1964 by Barbara Holtz and Virginia Jovankowski. Story Hour has shaped generations of Three Lakes children, recognized nationally, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know about nationally, it was statewide at least. The program, so again, I love ChatGPT, but always read what it gives you back before you publish it. Open to children ages 3 to 5. Story Hour receives support from the Three Lakes School District. So I could read that and be like, okay, that sounds pretty good. I can get that up on my website. Or maybe I'm like, that doesn't really ring true. So please rewrite the above as in a more fun and engaging way. And now it's going to think about it a little bit and adds an exclamation point. And we've got, okay, Story Hour welcomes kids ages 3 to 5 to dive into the world of wonder. So there's a little bit more there. That might be something fun to work with. And you see, just keep having that conversation. And what's kind of nice is that ChatGPT, once you with the account, does save your back history. So you can have this work with you and you can go back to it or continue to retweak what it's been saying. Now, let's say I want to have something I want to have some talking points. So maybe I take the press release and I say, because I need to give a speech on this. So give me some talking points using this press release and information about benefits of library story times for children. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to paste in the entire press release. So now it gives me some talking points when I need to give a speech to our, let's say, local Rotary Club about this. And now we've got early childhood development. Story Hour has been fostering crucial social skills since 1964, community engagement, recognition and excellence, continued growth and support. So it gives me some really clear points that I could take and give. But again, I need to read this and make sure that it is accurate and that it totally recognizes it, and that it hits on the things that I need to do. But it gives me a really kind of nice place for getting started. Let's start a new chat. I'm going to quick switch to a completely different topic. I need to start a press release and I am blank paging. I have no idea where to begin. I'm tired, I've got to get work done, and my director really wants a press release on the benefits of, or on summer reading at our library. So please draft a press release on the, oh, how about the benefits of story time at local libraries. And this is a very generic topic. ChatGPT isn't going to know your specifics, so you still need to include like what it is, but it can give you some things to work with. Sometimes you just need something to get started. So maybe actually, I wanted to do, please rewrite the above as a letter to the editor. Maybe we got a reason to have this going into our library for editors, or for talking points. Maybe you're trying to do a fundraiser or something. And so here we've got a fairly lengthy letter going, but it would give you a starting point for topics. So I like using an AI for these reasons, for doing this. You can also do, I've got a bunch of prompts that you can also do, but you can also do, please rewrite the above in 100 words or less. I need something really short. We had somebody writing in about the waste of money on children's librarians, and I want to write back, and I need a start for a letter. I need a start of a letter for an editor. So I'll give you a start there. And now let's switch back over to, again, I will include these, some artificial intelligence prompts that you can have: critique this, fact check this, rewrite this, focusing on. So rewriting, focusing on clarity, brevity, succinctness, engagement, or action. So maybe you need to rewrite this press release as a call to action. And I'll post back in that same press release. And so this is going to be a little bit more focusing on how you get people to come to the library for that and engaging. I'm not going to reread through these right now, but I would make sure that I've read all of these for that. Again, in so many words or less, in common vernacular. So maybe you've got somebody who is a little bit flowery with their language and a little needs honing, or needs it pulled back. So I like brevity, succinctness, but sometimes it needs to be like, can you write this like in common speech? Or to sound more professional, or maybe to sound more fun. Let's see. So the basic takeaways here are: don't reinvent the wheel. And this is why I will post that press release up on the training page. I cannot tell you how many times I took a press release like this, saved it as something else, file, save as, give it a new date and a new name, and we'll just 2024, and we'll call it a day at the library is my new event. And I've got this, Denver Library invites you to a day at the library. And that's going to be a name of an event. And let's see, and on Tuesday, I don't know, May, it's a little late for May, but we'll say May 28th, 2024, And this just would give me a really nice place from 10 to noon. The Denver Library in Three Lakes invites you to show your support support by participating in a day at the library. And I don't know what that means at this point. And maybe it's a read-in. There. And then my next paragraph. So a lot of times if I had one that was really useful, I just start typing over it, and it gave me a really good guide for doing the next thing. So don't reinvent the wheel. Don't start from scratch. Take an old thing. Just make sure that you change all of the things, like page 2 says story hour 50th. Make sure that gets changed, and you don't leave any of the other information, and you change the date that it was written. So then again, use AI to get started, create a message map with these bullet points. Maybe you want to have it write the message map for you, write a press release, craft a critique this press release, rewrite in bullet points. And all of this then can be used to write something for your website, hone it down, get it in there for social media in those different ways. That's what I have for written. Anybody have any questions on that or quick thoughts? We've got 2 minutes before we're halfway through. So any thoughts, questions, or anything about writing for promotion? Tell me what your least favorite thing about writing things for your press releases or for your library promotion is. Punctuation. And Rita was saying in those, we expect a certain amount of sameness for press releases. Yes, they're dry, they're boring, they're very formulaic. Keep it that way. You can make everything else fun. And if the newspaper wants something more fun, they'll come do an interview. If the radio wants something more fun, they'll call you for an interview. And that's when you get to be fun. Quotes are also a really good thing to include. I did not include a quote in that last one, but having a quote from a person included is another good formulaic piece that can add a little bit of flavor, a little bit of fun while still keeping that formula. Okay. Thoughts on things you like, hate, anything about writing? Good. Okay. So then I'm going to move on to images. This one's going to be a little bit more show and tell, but I do have a poll question for you. So I want to know, everybody here, and I'm actually going to send this out to the world. Oops, let me. I actually have to delete this question. How do I do this? This is me learning how to do it. How do I send my poll? That poll. Okay. We're good. How do I send this? Polls. Okay. Add, send. Save as meeting poll. Sending. Launch. Okay, my question is, does your library, or do you have a pro plan for Canva? Yes, no, no, but I would like one. Everybody else is tuned out. I've got 3 responses. Come on, guys. You're all falling asleep there. 4 responses. Oh, this is a really good way to find out how many people are actually paying attention during class. Okay, so we're about split 50-50 on who has Canva and who doesn't. Anybody else want to respond? Got 5. Calling, calling, calling. Okay, so Rita, you may have, it's okay if you just say the pro version is what you have, if you can access all the images, you may have gotten a nonprofit. Yep, you can manage the nonprofit thing. Okay, cool. 6. 3 more of you out there. Anybody else want to weigh in? Okay, I am going to use Canva today. And I am going to be using the Pro plan, just as an example. Some libraries have managed to get the nonprofit because maybe they have a foundation or friends that actually use it, or maybe they squeezed in and they got recognized. I know a lot of libraries applied under a nonprofit status and were denied because technically libraries are a governmental entity. You fall under your municipality, which is not recognized by Canva as being a nonprofit entity. So I'm really curious about how many people are actually using Canva Pro. I will be using Canva Pro today for my examples. You do not have to use Canva, but some of the things that can be done quickly and easily with design sometimes are better suited. Specifically, just like just like the press release, reusing and resizing is a huge thing for us in Canva. Okay, I'll leave the poll open in case anybody else wakes up. So there we go. So we're going to look at design principles. For design principles, this again will be in the training. I'm going to share a link. And I need to get back here, not to that one. I have too many windows open officially. Let's see. Bridges library system, they presented this at WLA, but they also held this as a webinar and they have it up as a recording on YouTube. This will be included in the training materials. However, the graphic design crash course is an excellent way to get started with some very basic principles on designing. It covers throughout the entire thing covers lots of things like color theory and spacing and composition. It also does cover writing. And it also talks about how Canva can be used to help you do this. So it's an all over, it's about an hour. It's a very worthwhile time to sit and watch. And I am not going to try to reinvent this wheel when these have done such a great job at it. So you do have the design crash course. One of the tools that I want to talk about, or one of the things I want to talk about today, and actually I'm going to switch over. I'm going to go over to my draft in my trainings. Let's see if I'm still awake here. Nope. Infinite IP, thank you. I closed too many windows. Go. Oh, wrong. This is why you're all falling asleep on me. Let's see, training. Okay. There we go. Okay, so my draft post. This is what you will see once I get this published later today. I just didn't get everything written in here that I wanted. Okay, so basic principles of design is keep it simple. And that's going to be our main message in all of the design we do. Don't overcomplicate it. Do not put too many words into it. If you are using ChatGPT or anything to help you narrow down your words, narrow them down even more. And there's actually a very nice way to do this. We can go back to our message map that we used, and we can also use the hierarchy with that message map. So if I were to go back into this message map that I had going for here. and I was going to be making an image about this. My main point would be the Story Hour celebrating 50 years. The next one would be celebrating 50 years of Story Hour, the flagship of early childhood education program. That gets even muddier. So I'm going to make those words even less for an image. And then I make sure that our other points of where, when, why, and who are going to be included. So these are my hierarchy for my design. But I want to make sure my words are much shorter. You know, celebrating 50 years of Story Hour is repetitive here. So celebrating 50 years. And I'm going to make this fun and engaging. Flagship early childhood education program, but I probably would not use those big words for it. I probably stick to, you know, to our history of Story Hour and what's happening at the open house event. So then I come back and I've got my color and contrast. You're going to want to pick 3 to 4 key colors. And I am not a graphic designer. This is why I really do rely on these guys in the graphic design crash course. But they give you some color wheel things, and your colors can set your mood, but you also want to make sure, again, for accessibility and visibility and readability, that high contrast choices are being used. And that you use careful fonts. Don't use 50 different fonts in your images. Stick to 1 or stick to 2. An example might be Times New Roman, which is a serif font. It has these little fun extra feet on the ends of the letters. And then a simple sans serif font like Calibri, which is clean and that. So mix those 2 types of fonts together, but don't add more than maximum 3 fonts. Then for our image design tools, I am going to concentrate on Canva. GIMP is really nice for people who have Adobe Illustrator experience but want a free option. GIMP is a new image manipulation program. You can download it for free. It is a little more complicated to use than Canva, but if you are comfortable with Adobe Acrobat, Photoshop, and Illustrator, this would be a good choice for you. So I'm going to go over to Canva and give you some examples of how Canva can assist you in doing more work more quickly. One of the things that Canva can do and how you can use Canva is it has templates, it has layouts, colors, and fonts. It's got drag and drop images, and the color selection will be based on the photos and images you upload. But what I also really like about it is the resizing option. And I'm going to focus a lot on that today. So what I have done in general is I have created myself some blank templates for different blog items. Backing up to your website, this is where things get really complicated, and I mean really complicated. Your website probably has a post slider. And if it doesn't have a post slider, it has something like a blog post with a featured image if you're doing posts. The challenge with a post slider is that it really, really, really wants to resize itself. It wants to format itself and its image to be responsive to any size web page that you're using. So as you resize your web page, your post slider is going to resize itself for that too. So I have here a sample post slider page. And this just gives you an example of what a slider wants to do. This is a default slider. So a few websites have this, but it's very hard to read in this current format. Notice it by default, if you add a new slider to your website, it's going to put the featured image in the background. It's going to have the text right over top of that featured image, and it's not going to be very contrasty, or the font is not going to be large enough to really read. So as much as you have this thing going on here, and then if you don't have an image at all, this is what it looks like. I don't know why it's not sliding for me right now today, but this is, so most of you do not have a slider in its most generic form. This is an example of the same slider, but with a Talkify mini calendar next to it, so you can see the different sizing. With a little bit of customization, a slider can look better. You can use the image in the background and have the text on top. And the featured image will pretty much, whatever featured image size you put in, will pretty much work with it. But something to be aware of, this is where any size image is not just going to work. And this is why it's very important for you to have an understanding of what your website featured slider size is and how things look. Notice this Chit Chat Book Club image gets very blurred out and doesn't fit very well. That's because if we come down and look here at this slider, I left a bunch of different sizes in here. The slider image, or the featured image size, is a tall vertical, kind of poster sized. And this is what happens to it when it's just left behind. So it's really, really important for you to understand what the slider looks like on your page. Most of them are probably going to be something similar to this, a full size, full width slider, or a minier slider next to a Talkify calendar or some other items on here. So take a minute and look at what your slider looks like. And notice here, as the slider slides, the different ways, the different size featured images interact with that slider. And some of them look better than others. This small 3/4 slider actually works pretty well with an 8.5 by 11 poster size, but the words are going to get washed out if you try to put words on it. So this is why we don't do words on images. This slider actually works very nicely with a square format. So this would be like a 300 by 300 format. This slider does okay with the square image. Backing up here. But it's still pretty small compared to the rest of things. So I look at this and I'm like, that's kind of tiny, because it wasn't, this is probably a 600 by 400. So I want a bigger format, but I want it. And so this one I've created as a standard. So I created myself a standard template of 795 by 500. And I will do this for my standard for most people and recommend this for most people. However, if you have a website that has a smaller slider and you try to put in a large slider, what it's actually going to do is it's going to take this and it's going to force it into this mode. The image is going to push, the image size itself is going to be so large that it's going to force itself into this background mode instead of appearing on the left or right. All of this to say is know your website. And if you need help figuring out what's going on with your slider, ask, send in a help ticket, because we can figure out what the best size image is for you. And then once you know what your best size image is, you can come over and you can create yourself a nice little template file here. So if I were to do something new, I can create a new design, and I'm going to go to, what do I usually use for this? The blank one is really kind of hard. So I'm going to go ahead and say logo. Oh, sorry, custom size. I totally will look right by it. File. Where's my new, create new, custom size. And I know for my website, let's say I've figured out that I need mine to actually be something like 795 by, or 500 by 795. I actually want it to be a vertical one, and I'm going to create my new design. So now I will have a vertical size that I will use on one of my sliders. And I'm going to call this feature or blog post, and this is 500 by 795 template. Now let's say that I am working on the More campaign, passport campaign, and I have been given a from the toolkit, I've been given some resources to work with, but this isn't going to work on my website because it's a completely wrong size. This might, but it also has a lot more text on it that I want to avoid, but this isn't too bad. So maybe what I will do is go to the Canva template that Reb has offered. Use this template for new design. And in this case, I am going to, and this doesn't include some pro things. This is why I ask about the pro, because if you are opening this without a pro, it will warn you and it will tell you that you can't get it. So you may need to ask Reb to actually make this for you. So I am going to download this as a PNG and download that for myself. Save this in my downloads and go back to my Canva. And in my uploads, I can upload my file. Oh, where is my, there it is. And I can use this. Now, I don't want these words at the bottom. I already decided that. Because I want this just to be my poster image. So I can cover that up. And moments, shape. I'm going to go ahead and move my shape here to cover this up. And I want my shape to be the same color as this. This is what I also like about Canva. If I click on here on the color, it will give me the options of the photo colors. So I can blend that and make that work. I could add a contrast. Maybe I want a yellow stripe here to make that a little more sunny. I can do some other editing. But this way I have a blog post that's going to fit. Now, let's say I wanted this in a 300 by 300 for that square, or if I wanted to redo this for the Facebook. And this is where I will include this in the training, but Reb did a really nice thing here. She gave you a toolkit that tells you for websites, a Facebook header, a logo for print, and an Instagram or Facebook post size. So you can create and resize, but I'm going to show you the resize and magic switch. If I wanted this resize, and this is a pro feature, but if I click on this and I decide I want it 300 by 300 for a square, and click continue, I can either copy and resize or I can resize this design. I'm going to copy and resize for this one, and then it will open it as a new file. So you can take these and resize these for Facebook, for your Instagram, for different uses at your library. I don't know if anybody's got things going on TikTok or other things, but you might, anywhere you might need to find it. But you can come up with something that would work better for different sizes. your different size needs. Canva also offers some nice, what I usually do here is some nice options where I will duplicate a previous slide and then I can go back. I also want to show you something. I'm stealing another trick that you can do for resizing would be if you already have a poster made in Canva, I will download that as a JPEG or a PNG, and I can crop this. And I don't want any of the words in here because I don't want words in my featured image. I want all my words to be in my text. And then if I take the top part of my poster and I can do my background to match, to blend. So again, I come down here, photo colors are provided for me. And just like that, I have this one is a 795 by 500 for my featured image on my website, just using the very top part of a poster that I already created. This is quick and easy. I can get rid of all of this, and I can again do it with the summer reading program at the Hazel Mackin Library. Edit my photo, crop, and I just want that. I don't want any of the other words from the poster. I can get pretty darn close with this, but I'm still going to have an edge. I can either just download and save it this way, or I can again come in and add a background. And it suggests the photo colors down here and have just a little bit of a frame to my featured image. So couple of different ways that you can resize and do things within Canva that will make it a lot faster for you to not have to replicate work somewhere else. But the key thing is know your website and know what it is, what size you need. Finally, oops, this is where I'm not quite done with this. Finally, remember when you are doing anything with your images that any words that are on your images, so if we're back here in Canva, and if I had been trying to use this entire gardening tips and tricks, if I were to only insert this as my blog post, Google cannot read this. Bing cannot read this. So we need, and screen readers especially cannot read this. So anything that says gardening tips and tricks class May 14th, 6:30 p.m. Come and learn about gardening basics. These are things that cannot be read by a machine and are not available for search or for somebody who is not able to see the screen that they are on. If you want to make sure that individuals are able to find you, always start with your written content first. Have that written content in your post, then create your poster based on that written content. Then finally, take that poster and take only the most important pieces, or ideally just an image, and include that as the attractive part of what's going to attract an eye on a website or a Facebook page. Do not try, especially on a Facebook page, do not try to put that content just into the image. You need to have that written post. Okay. So again, high level, high view, different pieces. So to review today, we talked about having your message map with your headline, your key 3 points with up to 3 points underneath those. And an example of that, how to take your message map or how to take a press release and use it for a message map, how to use AI to help you write a press release, help you formulate a message map, how to write better using some AI prompts, and then how to take Canva and use that to design templates so that you can take a poster, turn it into a social media image and a website image. Reuse, resize, don't reinvent the wheels. That's what I have today. Any questions or thoughts on any of that? Okay. And again, I will have all of this plus the graphic design crash course. I will have this up available. It will be the design and writing training tools, but it will be available at the library's WIN training homepage, and it'll be the first result on here for a little while until we have another training. And the video of today's will be available up on YouTube. That's what I have. Okay.